Welcome to the Big Cat Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Big Cat KZ. Thank you so much for listening in. The Big Cat Lounge is where we interview guests in a casual lounge setting from all over the world. We are on the way to achieving Big Cat International status. New episodes are dropped weekly on all places you listen to podcasts. Please rate and subscribe to help us grow. Welcome to the Big Cat Lounge podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Big Cat KZ, and today's guest comes from Bangalore, where she is passionate to bring about a positive mindset shift among women and students with every interaction that she has with them. She's a consultant, coach, mother who is focused in the gender diversity space, where she heads the Job for Her Foundation. She was awarded at a TEDx Women's event for her 25 years of achievements in the corporate world. We welcome Neeraja Ganesh to the Big Cat Lounge podcast.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. So tell us a little bit about from the IT industry to now the gender diversity space. What made you lead to the switch?
Okay, so really it wasn't a planned switch, if I may say. But I was always focused on it, even when I was in my IT career. I was always passionate about growing leaders, not necessarily only women leaders, but of course there's a special passion, a special interest that I have. But I have always grown leaders organically. So if you usually notice when leaders shift organizations or they move to different teams, they would always pick people from their previous organization or previous team whom they've got a good rapport and who they believe will deliver the work that they are interested in. But I've never done that. I'll go into a new team and I will assess who's got the potential, and the person may not necessarily have proven much in the past in terms of leadership, but I will pick that person. I will give that opportunity. So that's one of my passions, and that's the way I've grown people. And it's always worked. People have, gone beyond where I have reached because of that. Now, I used to run the diversity and inclusion initiatives in my organization, and hence it just became a part of me. When I decided to leave the corporate world, again, it was not very intentional. I had taken a few weeks off to care for, people at home, my mother, my husband, sequentially one after the other, they fell ill. And they had supported me for 25 years in my career. So I felt the need to be around them and care for them when they fell this ill. And something in me told me that I don't want to go back to the corporate setup. I would like to do something which is more impactful and what I'm passionate about. And the opportunity to head the Jobs for Her Foundation just came my way. But I have to tell you that I was always involved with Jobs for Her Foundation, even when I was in my last role in Capgemini. I volunteered with them. I'm a mentor on their portal. And during those weeks of leave, when I was caring for people at home, I still stepped out every day for a couple of hours to do some work for them on a voluntary basis. And that's how the opportunity to head the Jobs for Her Foundation came my way. And then, as everyone says, rest is history. Opportunities to do more in this space just kept coming. And I felt that how much ever you do, it's not enough. So I keep at it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for you really enjoy giving back and caring for people. So how are you able to have that motivation, to awaken, arise, and bring awareness? Because there's just so much distractions that we encounter on a daily basis, but you're able to just inspire every day.
So the way it started was when I was heading the Jobs for Her Foundation. I think that the realization happened then. I may have been doing it earlier, but the realization happened then because I was heading, I had that title, and hence I started getting invited to a lot of events to speak. With every event that I spoke at, I would get feedback. The people would come and speak to me. Largely, they were women, right? Audiences were women. They would come to me and they would say that my talk was very different to what they have otherwise heard from others, because it was a lot of experiential sharing. I didn't do any research. I did not do academic research, bring in data and statistics to prove a point. I just narrated my experiences around whatever the topic was. and how I dealt with it, how I coped with the challenges, and how I had seen success. And they could relate to it. And to me, I felt that if 5 minutes, 10 minutes of an experience share could change, could transform the mindsets of people, then I must do more of this. So it just became a part of my life. And for example, even our conversation today, when you approached me, I said, yeah, I would like to do this because this is another platform. How do you find audiences? You have to find opportunities. So you told me you will have a different set of audience for your podcast, and I'm happy to share my experiences so that it can create a mindset shift in those people. So the motivation is just that a small experience share can bring about such a transformation in people. For example, I will give one story here. And actually, I'm writing a book, and the book is titled "You Have Arrived." No glass ceilings, no broken rungs, no glass cliffs. And one of the chapters in that, I've titled it as "Treat Every Interaction as an Opportunity." Now, one of the challenges that women say they face is that they are not given as many opportunities as men are. So I always ask them, why don't you go ahead and grab those opportunities? Why are you waiting to be handed over opportunities? And even better, if you can create those opportunities for yourself. And I say network, increase your visibility, build a brand, learn to speak about your accomplishments, pitch yourself in front of others. And a story that I would, narrate on this particular topic, and it might also see in the book, is about my daughter who's in her second year undergraduate course. And at this time in a student's life, they are continuously looking out for learning opportunities, internships. And there was this very, very impressive organization that put out a 10-week boot camp on a particular subject that she's very keenly interested in, data science. She applied for it, but she didn't get chosen because they were looking for postgraduate students. Since after the 10 weeks of learning, they would probably give them some internships and look at converting them into placements, hiring them for the organization. And my daughter is just starting her second year of college. So maybe that was one of the reasons why she didn't get selected. But there was an opportunity for her amongst all other students who had applied for this to meet with the leaders of that organization. And during that meeting, my daughter just opened up and said that I'm so passionate about this opportunity, and this is what I've done in the past. This is what I'm looking forward to do. And hence I applied, but maybe, it's going to take me time to get there. You will not believe she got chosen after that meeting. So now she is part of that cohort. So when I narrate this story, people, I'm sure, learn that it is important for you to treat every interaction as an opportunity. So these things are what keeps me motivated to, yeah, as you said, awaken, arise, and bring awareness to everyone around us, definitely the women around us.
Give back and to really meet new people every day, because the way you get your information is from others, or you seek it out. So for me, with the Big Cat Lounge, we've reached international status. We've now captured over 35 countries in the world, and it's just to really capture everyone's story and to give back to the community, because we don't know what's going out there. We don't know what's happening in a country or that culture, but just to really shift our mindset and to bring it back so we can all reflect. Today's sponsor is Anchor FM app. Go download the free Anchor app today to get started. You can find it at your Play Store or App Store. It's everything you need to make a podcast, and it distributes everything for you so it can be heard on multiple platforms such as Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and many more. This is what I'm currently using right now to edit and record my podcast, and you can do so from your phone or computer. And the tools are really easy to use to help document the Big Cat Lounge journey. So what are you waiting for? Go today and download it.
Wonderful. And we need more platforms like this. We need more people like you to be doing this.
Yeah, it's a unique experience, and yeah, podcasting really provides the platform for anyone, and it's a unique a unique opportunity again for those to showcase what's on their mind and what's going on in their world.
And eventually you will build so many new connects, right? Otherwise, you would probably never have met me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's through the power of the internet and LinkedIn.
Right.
I guess there's so many resources out there on the internet. So really it's up to us to just, navigate and use what's there at our disposal. With social media, there's all like free resources, boot camps. So it's up to us to take action.
Absolutely, which is very, very true. So when we were growing up, so I have about 30 years of work experience. So people can do the math to know what my age is. It was very limited, right? So we went to school, we probably went to university, we learned a bit there, and then whatever learning happened in the organizations that we went to work for. There was a little bit of on-the-job learning and mentoring, but if there a special project came by which needed special skills, then we would be sent for a course, and that's the only learning that we were limited to. Conferences were there, but only some people would get sent to those conferences because they were usually offline. There was no concept of online, and they would be priced very heavily. So only the cream of the organization, or who they felt deserve to attend these conferences, or who can make something out of it and bring something back for the organization, would be sent to these conferences or workshops, which is outside of direct impact to work. It was very, very limited. But today there is no dearth of learning, and learning. Formal learning, of course, online courses are available through Coursera, and there are so many online portals. But I really believe learning comes from many other platforms or avenues. Like listening to a podcast is learning. Being on social media is learning. So if I really want to know something about the retail industry, I can just pick up some of the retail industry experts who I believe have made it, and start following them on LinkedIn or any other social media of my choice. And you will suddenly see the material that they are putting out could be very short stories, could be just a post or some article that they have found very, very impactful on your social media, and your feed will be filled with this. And you spend about 10-15 minutes reading that, your learning for the day is done. There's plenty of bite-sized information available through videos, audios, and of course, at the end of the day, then the courses are also there. And what happens when there is plenty? You're spoiled for choice. And the online world today has also made our focus and our attention span very limited. We have multiple tabs open on our laptops. We have multiple devices. So we are not able to focus and give that kind of attention. And our priorities are not really listed down. If I were to ask someone, what are your top priorities? They will give me 10 things they wish to do. But that's not priorities. That's like a laundry list, right? That's like a bucket list. People need to sit and reflect and say, okay, what are my goals for the next 2 years? And hence make a priority list of the top 3 to 5 things, and ensure that they build that into their calendar and into their routine. I'm a big fan of the Google Calendar, and hence every small thing that I wish to achieve, I will plonk it into my calendar. And probably that's one of the reasons, it took us such a long time to, find a slot which worked for you and me also, because I really calendarize every small thing, be it learning, be it, going shopping, or be it doing something for my daughter or family. Everything goes into the calendar to ensure that all my priorities are met, and I don't lose focus on anything. So it is very important for people, and I won't say it is just, for the current generation or the millennials. It's for everyone. Doesn't matter how much of years of experience you have, how much of learning you have to constantly evolve. You have to constantly keep yourselves updated. And I think these resources that are available are really, really useful. All we need is to schedule some time in our calendars and focus and consume as much as we can. The other thing which is also important is, while you are consumers, you must also be givers, because there's so much of information that you have, so much of knowledge that you have. You can be a role model. So please find avenues to share your experience and your knowledge through writings, or through volunteering to speak at some sessions, or you yourself launching a YouTube video or a podcast, because it is extremely important for us to share.
Why not just share? There's no point in keeping it all within. You have it to share and for others to grow with you and around you.
Absolutely. That's true. That's true.
And I think right now, there's really not that many entries to career. Before, like you mentioned, you have to conferences, you'd have to go and travel to get some of that information. But now there's free webinars, there's free videos, there's podcasts. So yeah, we just, we can't make any more excuses. It's around us. There's no more costs to things. I mean, there is to a certain extent, but there are a lot of free resources there for us.
Yes, and you never know, how it can transform your lives. The other mindset that people have is it aligned to the work that I do? So, if I'm looking at marketing as my career, then I'll probably go and read up something on marketing, digital marketing, trends and marketing, and look at only conferences which are marketing. But I would say that no, because it's an era of innovation. It's an era of creativity. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I think COVID has just fast-tracked, that kind of disruption for all of us. So it is very important for us to be aware of diverse topics. So my recommendation would be, please go and attend conferences, talks, workshops, podcasts, or listen to videos of people who are across industries, across domains, roles, cultures, because you never know where the inspiration comes from and how it can transform your life. For me, the transformation really came from one such event. While you asked me the question of how did I navigate from an IT world into gender diversity, and it was always in me, the real propellant was me attending one conference, which was for women on a career break. And the reason I went to attend that was, again, because my organization asked me to put out a recommendation to hire women on a career break. Now, since I had never taken a career break, I didn't realize what it meant. Why was it such a big deal? So I was just researching, and I went and attended this conference. And the realization that women, definitely in India, but I think globally, women who've taken a break, maybe a man also who takes a break, struggles to get back into the workforce after the career break was just so high after I attended that conference. And I told myself I will do whatever I can do to make an impact here. And that's how the trajectory changed, and I have done the things that I have done. So it can be transformational. It's not just for learning. It can really change the life that you're leading, the purpose that you have, and even career opportunities could just open up. So please make use of every such opportunity that comes your way.
Were to take a gap year, significant time off, to take care of a caregiver, because like right now, the system, it's algorithm based, with software, and they scan through your keywords on your CV, your resume. And so like, it's going to be difficult to sort through and get that interview.
Yeah. So a few things that I would like to say is, let's not look at it as a gap. There is always learning associated with everything that one does, right? So you're doing this. So podcasting is maybe a passion for you. You have a day job, which is something else. But if you were to go for an interview tomorrow, I'm sure there are so many learnings that you have got out of this podcasting initiative that you've been running, that you can quote all of that in your interview. And that could also make a big difference between you as a candidate and another candidate who has just got the required technical skills and the domain skills. You've got something more than that person, and hence you probably will get some extra brownie points. So I always say that there's always learning associated with everything that one does, including the gap year that one has taken. Because you're doing something at that point in time. Now, why do people take gaps? Usually, here, and when we speak about women, it is probably because you had a baby, or you got married and your spouse is elsewhere, so you decide to kind of quit and go where he lives and you may be finding it hard to get a job over there, or you might be caring for your elders at home, and things like that. Or you might just want to, focus on relaxing yourselves for a year because you've been, through a very competitive role in the last few years, and you just want to kind of chill for some time. Whatever it be, take a holiday. Each of these gives you some learning. And it is so very important for us to be able to articulate those learnings. I have been told by recruiters that when they get the resume of a candidate, the first thing they do is they look up the person's name online. They Google for that name because they want to see what is the online presence of every person, what is the person's personal brand. So it is very important for all of us to ensure that we build our presence beyond just a resume, beyond just that it was a gap. What did you do during the gap? What were your learnings? What were the initiatives that you ran? There is always a lot of learning, and it is important for us to articulate that in your CV, on your LinkedIn profile, in your elevator pitch, at the interview, and bring about that difference. And if you are genuine, that's the point I want to make. People always respect genuinity. Don't cook up a story by saying, okay, I took a gap because of this. Be very genuine about what made you take a gap. So a story that I would like to narrate is last year I was working at a college because one of the things that I was very passionate beyond just doing things for the women is to look at the youth of our country and do a few programs to impact that segment. And I was working at an educational institution here. But it was 2020, it was a pandemic year. So whatever I had signed up for, I was not really able to create that kind of an impact, bring about those kinds of outcomes. But the college was, quite considerate because they realized that it is a pandemic year and, that's only that much that one can do. While organizations were, cutting roles, cutting salaries, the college didn't do any of that. And when this was happening, I got an opportunity to get interviewed for a very senior role. In fact, it was the managing director role for a very well-known organization in the gender space. And I declined. I declined because I said that I have a commitment at this college. And even if you are to offer me a higher salary, I think I must give what I need to give to this educational institution, which is not throwing me out during the pandemic, despite the fact that I am not able to bring the kind of outcomes that were required. And I will do what I have to do with the college and whatever time it takes, and only then look at this opportunity. They followed up with me a few times, and it was a very senior woman leader, very well known in the industry, who was trying to reach out to me for this interview. And she said, I respect your values, Neerja, because this tells me that you are so sincere to the job that you are in, and you're not just going to run after money. So whenever I am ready, I can reach out to her, and definitely she will, see what opportunities are available for me. So that genuinity always will, get you your desired outcomes. Maybe it will take some time. So be very genuine and always narrate your learnings from whichever situation that you have been. Skills are something that anyone can learn, but it's your competencies, or what we call as strengths, that matter more. Hence, ensure that you build in those differentiators when you do your CV, when you're writing on LinkedIn, when you're doing your elevator pitch, and also showcasing those strengths during your interview. And these don't have to necessarily come from your professional environment. There could be stories from your personal situations. Like, for example, I went through, a COVID situation in my family in April, and it was extremely traumatic. But I knew that if I narrate how I was resilient through that entire situation, it will definitely tell the organization with whom I'm interviewing about my resilience, which is one of the key strengths that any candidate needs to have in organizations today. So bring out those learnings that happened despite you being on a gap.
And how would you say you were able to master the craft of storytelling? because it's not easy, to present something in a manner that flows smoothly for the audience or the listeners, from start to finish, and then also to be engaged.
Yes, that's definitely something that people have asked me time and again, and I'm thinking that probably just is there in me. So I reflect back to say, when is it that I got onto this track? And reflections take me back to my school days. Kyle, I've been a very meek, timid, shy girl as I was growing up, which people don't believe today. But yeah, that's because I came from a very conservative family, a very quiet girl. And yeah, if you were talking about, I was not the hep kind. I was not the one who would fit in. I was always the quiet one, sitting in a corner, just doing something all by myself, probably a plain Jane. Wasn't too great with academics. So usually in the early years of school, when you would get back to school after a summer break, the first day would be just very informal. You wouldn't have classes and lessons. And the teachers would come in and they would just make us play games or, narrate some stories of what did you do during your summer break. So there was this English teacher who came and she asked me to write an essay. She asked the entire class to write an essay, which I believe was something like this. If you suddenly won a lottery of say $100,000 or something like that, how would you spend it? And everybody wrote, and I also wrote. And the teacher was just walking across, looking at every student's writing, and then she called out 3 students to read their essays, and one of them was me. And I just could not believe it, because I never thought that I write well enough for me to be called on the podium and read my essay out. So I think it was always there in me. It was just because I was so timid and quiet that I never made it apparent. But as I told you, when I started giving these public talks and people came back and they told me it was so impactful, I realized what I would probably say experience sharing is nothing but storytelling. And storytelling is always impactful. But there is also a way to narrate the story. The story has to engage the audience, of course, but it should also move the audience to take action. Otherwise, the person will listen to the story and go home and, sleep over it and forget the story. So you have to have that narration that you are appealing and engaging the audience, but there has to be something in it which triggers the audience to take the relevant action. So I will give you again another essay, right? I can always say that we women don't speak up. We don't ask for what we want, and we need to. Now, this is a plain, one-liner, and I can probably pull out some statistics and data and say, yes, this is important. But if I were to say the same thing with a story, which is one of the incidents that let me narrate. When I was at Jobs for Her, there was this book you may have come across. It is written by Marshall Goldsmith and Sally Hedgerson, called How Women Rise. And I saw the book at the table, at my table. So I asked the person who was sitting next to me, how did this book come to my table? And she said that this particular book was being launched in India, and there was an event that was happening, and Jobs for Her was partnering at that event. And so they had given a few, free books to be distributed, as well as there were some free tickets available for people to attend this event. Now, I really wanted to attend this event. Marshall Goldsmith is the #1 coach globally, and I really wanted to attend that. But, these events are quite costly. So I didn't want to really pay up that kind of money to attend that event. So I asked whether I can get one of the complimentary tickets. And she said, no, we have already given it up to everyone. So I said, okay. And a while later, I saw that there was an email which came from another community that I was part of. They were also partnering for this event, and they had also got a few free passes to be distributed to their community. And they had said, whoever wishes to, please come and, pick up the free pass. By the time I went to them, they said all the passes were exhausted. So I was kind of quite disappointed. But a few hours later, this girl at Jobs for Her, with whom I had spoken about, wanting a free pass, she called me and she said that the founder of Jobs for Her actually had to speak at that event. and she was not able to because she had some other commitments now. And she wanted to know whether I would go instead of her and speak at that event. And I was so thrilled. Here I was trying to just participate as an attendee, in the audience. And here is an opportunity for me to share stage with Marshall Goldsmith and speak. And I said, sure, sure. And, I used that opportunity and went. Now, if I were to narrate this story and say that's why it is so important for you to ask, it's why it's so important for you to speak up, this story will engage the audience as well as they will realize that they need to take this action next time. They should speak, they should ask. What's the worst that can happen? Maybe you'll never get the pass, but the best scenario is that you got to be on the podium with the Marshall Goldsmith. So this is the reason that I always do my conversations in a storytelling format, whether it is personal, whether it's professional, whether it's at a conference or a podcast. I would always narrate stories because the impact is much, much more than, you can imagine.
Yeah, it truly is just being able to storytell. How many speaking events would you say you've done thus far in your career?
I've not been counting, but, I did count in 2020. And I will tell you why. So I started these events in 2018 when I went on to head the Jobs for Her Foundation, because that's when people started inviting me, not because I'm Neerja Ganesh, but because I've had that role. So they would always, invite people at those kinds of roles. So I started in 2018 and did a bit in 2019. But in 2020, being the pandemic year, suddenly because everything became online, I must have gotten invited to at least 60 to 70, events to speak between April 2020 to December 2020. So if I were to do the math, I was probably doing at least one event per week, but I think sometimes more than one event. So putting all of this together, I must have done more than 100 plus, maybe about 20, 25 panel discussions, because there are different kinds of speaking engagements. I also like to do panel discussions because then you get the opportunity to network as well as learn from your other panelists. I've also had opportunities to be a moderator for panel discussions, which is also a great opportunity because that means you do a lot more research about the topic and you have to hold the show. I have delivered at least 60 plus webinars or talks on a variety of topics. People have reached out for me to be on video interviews or podcasts. So I can easily say 100 plus that I've done ever since 2018, but the large chunk came in 2020. In this year, 2021, I'm trying to be a little more balanced because I'm looking at the commercial work also that I would like to do. And a lot of companies are asking me to come and speak and conduct workshops. So I try to balance between commercial work as well as community work, but I still, give my time to community work, community networking events where they request me to come and speak. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. But now that you've asked me, I will keep track of it. I'll start counting.
What does the next 5 years have in store for you? What's the vision look like?
Let me start with 2021. So the journey has been like this, right? I came out of a formal job set up in 2019 because I felt I really wanted to do multiple things, and being in one job, I could not accomplish that. So I thought I would be a freelancer, I'd be in a consulting mode and pick up different kinds of projects. Also do a lot more of voluntary work, which I do. And 2020 kind of, just changed the whole game. And I said, I'll go with the flow. Let's see, what 2020 brings to us. But it brought a lot of opportunities. It helped me build a very good online presence and brand. Also brought me opportunities to do a lot of writing because the same realization that I had that when I speak, it seems to be extremely impactful. I wanted to take it to larger audiences. Now, you can't always be, having speaking engagements. So I started writing. I write on LinkedIn. I write on guest, blog sites. And so this year I had two main focus areas. One was to really look at corporates and see where I could really do some programs, leadership development and behavioral mindset change programs. Also, I'm writing a book, as I said. I'm curating, a set of topics which I believe are required for women definitely women, but of course men also, to know of as they navigate their career. So it is not the usual stuff that the communication one-on-one, or how to be assertive. It's not those kinds of topics. These are things that are very subtle but are important. Like I said, treat every interaction as an opportunity. One never thinks about a conversation which could lead to an opportunity. So can we start having a mindset like that? Networking is so important. Building a personal brand is important. So these are the topics that I'm bringing into that book. So this year is focused on doing a lot more corporate workshops and the book, getting the book released. In the next few years, I'm just thinking that I must up the game here. I really want to create further impact on the younger generation, because when you do that, there is a ripple effect. I can see that already. So Kyle, between you and me, I really am not one of those who wants to start my own organization or anything like that. I would rather partner, I would rather collaborate, I would rather, use platforms which are already there and, make my work and impact felt. So I am already partnering with so many organizations. One of them is called as Aspire for Her, which started for girls in the age group of 18 to 25, but today they have gone beyond that and looking at building communities of women on a career break, women entrepreneurs, looking at women who have got impacted with the second wave of COVID in India, who probably lost the earning member of the family, and seeing how we can kind of enable them to come out of this and empower them both financially as well as emotionally. So that's a platform. There is another foundation that I work with, which is called Hope Works Foundation, which is to enable hope in girls who come from underprivileged, financially under-resourced families, and telling them that your life can be very different to what your mother's lives have been. So I do some voluntary work there. So looking at it, I think anything that compels me to further the impact in the areas of women, students, I will be there. I think I will do a lot more writing. Maybe a few more books will come by. There'll definitely be more talks and conferences and podcasts. But I'm seeing it as just being able to create a ripple effect. If I can touch someone and that someone can go about and do a similar thing, I think it can be a beautiful ripple effect, and we can touch as many lives as possible.
Yeah, we really can. Yeah, as a community, we all can. We really can.
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming on to the Big Cat Lounge podcast. If we wanted to follow your journey, where could we look?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can definitely catch me, follow me on LinkedIn. I am available as a mentor on a few platforms. One is called jobsforher.com. Maybe you can put that in the comments when you publish this. And another one is aspireforher.org. I will definitely give you that link also. And I think soon I will have a personal website. So when that happens, I will announce it on LinkedIn. But yeah, these three portals should, kind of make me very reachable to everyone.
We are accepting applications if you think you have what it takes to be a big cat and be a guest on the show. Email us at bigcatlounge@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to the Big Cat Lounge podcast. Hope to see you soon.